Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Ranking the Albums. Today, we're going to take a look at the catalog, the studio catalog of a much-loved guitar player for moi. We're talking about Mr. Robin Trower, one of my earliest guitar heroes. He's a guy I still love to this day. I grew up listening to Robin Trower. He's one of the main guys that got me wanting to pick up a guitar and play. He's got so many albums, though. So, I've been kind of putting off doing this because he's got such an enormous catalog, and I'm missing a few of them. I've heard all of his albums, and, he's got like the true solo albums, right? He's got the bunch of albums he did with Jack Bruce, all right? And just so much stuff, and it's close to like 30 albums. And I said, you know what? Instead of just kind of doing a really long, drawn-out show, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick my top 15 out of the roughly 30 or so. No live albums. We all know how much I love the Robin Trower live album, right? That's like one of the holy grails of live albums for me. I'm not going to include that because that would automatically be my favorite. I don't like to include live albums with studio albums because I'm such a fan of live albums that in almost every case, a live album is going to top the list, and that's not fair to the studio albums. So we're going to rank my favorite 15 from kind of number 15 to 1. Least favorite. Again, least favorite is kind of a stretch here because I dig all these. Some obviously a lot more than others. All right, so let's get it started. And again, I just want to reiterate what a fantastic player this guy is and was and is. He still is. At 70-something years old, he still tears it up. I love his stuff in Procol Harum. He's been a guy that I followed like my whole life practically, and love his tone. He's like, when I think of like kings of the Stratocaster, Trower, Jimi Hendrix, Ritchie Blackmore, Yngwie Malmsteen, there's certain guys that always pop up. Trower, absolutely. So let's get started. So my number 15, I actually don't own on CD. I used to have this on LP back in the day. It's his album Passion from 1987. Very good record. Okay. First album he did with Davey Pattison, of course, from Gamma. Played with Ronnie Montrose for many, many years. I think that Davey was a really good kind of foil for Robin. Great vocalist. And, they needed someone really strong to replace Jimmy Dore. And I think that he basically did that. And then some. Okay? Just a really good kind of bluesy singer. Trying to figure out who else was on that album right along with him. But anyway, doesn't really matter. It's those two guys we're really worried about. So Davey and Robin had a decent partnership that lasted a few years, few albums, and I think some good results. All right, so Passion, good album. 80s kind of production. So I think some folks were turned off by some of Trower's albums in the mid-late 80s into the early 90s. But you know what? They're products of their time. A lot of these guys, these old, blues rock guys trying to adapt to like modern technologies and all the different types of music that was kind of popular today. But I still think a lot of good fiery songs on that album, good vocal performance from Davey. It's a solid record. Number 14, I'm going to go to 1994's 20th Century Blues. Decent album, right? Some gutsy playing on here. This is... So this is the album. Let's see if I can get you the lineup here as well. Got Livingstone Brown on bass, vocals, keyboards, Robin, and Mayaya on drums. I forget how he pronounces his name. I think this album and some of his like 90s and more latter day albums suffer a little bit from really good playing, not ultra memorable songs. But the playing on this is really good. I love the title track. Whisper Up a Storm is very, very strong. Step Into the Dark. Chase the Bone. Promise You the Stars. Really good playing. The production is kind of like it's a little boxy, but it works. It's not a flashy album. It's not an album packed with, Trower classics, but it's kind of gutsy. It's really bluesy. And just some tremendous playing. So I dig it. I always kind of like that album. Next up, number 13, going to go 2007's Seven Moons. Here we have Robin and Jack Bruce playing together once again. You know, they did 3 studio albums together. I always go back to the first one as the best because that, to me, it's like they were going for kind of like a sound like Cream, and it really worked. And I think on the Truce album, they went for more of like a kind of like a funk rock sound, which I think works too. All right. And then here they went for a more kind of laid back blues type of style. So all the 3 albums with Jack Bruce, very, very different from each other. The title track is great. Lives of Clay, So Far to Yesterday, The Last Door, Come to Me. You know, they're elder statesmen now. This is 2007. So much more mature, a little bit mellower, still pretty damn good. Trower's got some good tones on this album too. You know, his guitar tone is always killer. All right, number 12, going to go to 1990, In the Line of Fire. This is another album with Davey Pattison and company. So let's see. Got the lineup right in the back here. So we got Davey Pattison, John Regan on bass, Tony Beard on drums, Bobby Mayo on keyboards, Hashiri Johnson on percussion, a couple other guys filling in on backing vocals and what have you. Produced by Eddie Kramer. I listened to this quite a bit when this came out. I originally had this on cassette because, of course, I was buying either cassettes or CDs. This is, you know, start of the 90s. I was just starting to buy CDs, still buying cassettes. Sea of Love is a pretty good tune. Under the Gun I always like quite a bit. Turn Up the Volume, good crank. And this is like more of like a hard rock album. I think at this point, Trower, again, trying to fit into the 90s, moving a little bit away from... Phone's ringing, but I will ignore that for now. Natural Fact, another really good tune. All That I Want. Let's Turn This Fight Into a Brawl. Climb Above the Rooftops, another really solid song. Stop ringing, you. There we go. So that is my number 11. Actually, number 12, sorry. Number 11, I got to find it here. Number 11, I'm going to go with the second release with Jack Bruce called Truce. That's this bad boy right there. I remember when it first came out, I was heavily into this one. And then when Truce came out, I was a little disappointed because I think they moved away from a little bit of the really sizzling, heavy blues rock from the first one into a more like kind of real funky sound. But in revisiting in later years, I actually have grown to appreciate it quite a bit. I think Gonna Shut You Down is a really cool kind of like groove-laden rocker, right? Gone Too Far is good. Last Train to the Stars. Fat Gut, it's got a really cool groove, really funky. Shadows Touching and Little Boy Lost is actually pretty fire. It's the last tune on the album. So I dig it. Production, a little different from the first album. I like it. Is it the best of that partnership? Not really, but it's still pretty damn good. All right, number 10. Going to go with Take What You Need from 1988. Another one of the Davey Pattison albums. This is pretty strong. Tear It Up, again, more of a hard rock album, less of kind of like a bluesy album. Take What You Need From Me, another good strong. Love Attack, I Want You Home. These are more insistent kind of hard rockers. Second Time, strong album, I think. All right, now we're into the top 10 here. Now, Caravan to Midnight comes in at number 9 from 1978. Where is that? Here we go. Because, of course, we got all these BGO reissues. So that's that one right there. Caravan to Midnight. So here is, these couple of albums in the, kind of latest 70s. So In City Dreams, Caravan to Midnight, 77, 78. Both are seeing... Robin's been doing that kind of like post-Hendrix thing for a few albums, mixing kind of like, blues rock with some hard rock and lots of psychedelia and like real like immense guitar tones. He's using the Univibe and the wah-wah and all that kind of stuff. And by the time Caravan to Midnight and In City Dreams came around, starting to want to like incorporate some new sounds, all right? So he's... kind of mixing in some funk and some pop and taking more of a laid-back approach, using lots of effects on the guitars. Jimmy Dewar, doing more of he's a great vocalist. And, I got to give a little apology to Jimmy Dewar and Jimmy Dewar fans. For whatever reason, you just can't remember everybody all the time. When I did my favorite bassist show and my favorite vocalist show, I forgot him off of both. And that was real bad of me because I love James Dewar. I think he was a fantastic singer and a really super smooth bass player, and he should have been mentioned in both shows, and I somehow forgot. There's always like a couple guys you forget when you're putting these lists together. He's one of them. But anyway, back to Caravan to Midnight. So it's got some strong tunes. I mean, the title track is really good. What else? Birthday Boy is fun. King of the Dance. Sail On. I think it's got some good tunes. The album, this album and the one before it kind of have this like kind of dreamy, floaty quality to it, which you don't get with those earlier Trower albums. And I think that this album and the one before it didn't sell as well because I think he was moving away from kind of that heavy power trio sound. Okay, they're still enjoyable albums, I think. Still fun albums. All right, so let me grab the other one now, because coming in at number 8 from 77 is In City Dreams. And that's that bad boy right there. So, again, some good to Bluebird is great. Little Girl, Farther On Up the Road. Title track, In City Dreams. Somebody Calling. It's got that kind of, he's got using the univibe and phaser or whatever, and it's just got the whoosh. So instead of like these kind of like, ripping heavy blues rock songs, he's going for a much more kind of casual, laid back vibe, mixing little bits of funk and what have you in there. And it's good. It's still Trower. It's still great. It's just, it knocks them back a little bit from being the kind of classics of all the ones that came before it and a couple that came after it. Right. So next up, we're going to go to 1991's. Let me find it. BLT. That's, of course, Bruce Lord Trower. Right there. Man, I listened to the hell out of this album when it came out. Some scorching Trower guitar work on here. I think Jack Bruce sounds great. Playing great. Bill Lord, and of course, really good drummer. I think this album, for me, kind of looking back now and all these years later, half of it absolutely destroys, and the other half is very solid. Okay, I think Into Money is a great tune. No Island Lost is just like absolutely scorching. I mean, Trower's got the fuzz up high, the wah-wah is just screaming, it's just heavy. Really great song. Life on Earth is great, Once the Bird Has Flown. Carmen's kind of that laid-back, kind of funky feel a little bit. Feel the Heat is really good. What It Is, also kind of funky, Won't Let You Down. I think it's a very solid record. I maybe don't hold it in as high regard as I did back in, 1981. But I still dig it quite a bit because it's, it is number 7, right? So there you have that. All right, so number 6. All right, where are you? There we go. Number 6 is 1983's Back It Up. So for those of you here in the U.S. who maybe had the LP back in the day, the LP actually, the cover was black. So it was actually the same hand holding the neck of the guitar with all these kind of cool colored strings flying out the bottom. But it was all black. Here it's all white. I love this album when it came out. I still dig it quite a bit. I think there's and this was, I believe, the last album that Jimmy Dewar appeared on. And, he wasn't the healthiest guy in the world right around that time. So this was, after this, that was it for him and Trower. But I think a really good kind of like finale for the two of them. Back It Up is a good crispy hard rocker. River, good blues rocker. Black to Red is really good, kind of up-tempo. Benny Dancer, for me, is the kind of like the big piece on this album. It's this long, slow, bluesy, psychedelic epic with some actually tremendous guitar playing from Trower and good kind of like breathy vocals from Jimmy. Time Is Short, another crisp rocker. Islands, another great song. Number the Brave, Captain Midnight, and Settling the Score. The album kind of like wanes a little bit towards the end, but man, that first side of the original vinyl, pretty damn strong. I still listen to and like this album quite a bit. All right, where are we? Number 5 from 1976, Long Misty Days. Long Misty Days. I love the vocal from Jimmy on that. He's got such this great kind of bluesy, passionate voice. It's just so awesome. But there's some good kind of funk rock on here. Good like kind of bluesy jams. Same Rain Falls got a good hook. good groove, good guitar licks. The title track, Long Misty Days, is kind of like Bridge of Sighs Part 2. It's got all the effects on the guitars. They're kind of heavy, slow moving, wishy wavy, and all that kind of stuff. Good vocals. Hold Me is a good tune. Caledonia, really good funky rocker. It's got the wah-wah cranked up on high. It's kind of like his little shaft thing going on there. Pride, another good kind of funk rocker. Sailing is absolutely gorgeous. All right, one of his more Hendrixy type tunes on here. SMO, Do You Want Some More? Great song. I used to, when I was a kid, just starting to play guitar, I used to jam to that song all the time. What else? I Can't Live Without You, real good slow blues, passionate number. And then you got Messin' the Blues, another really cool. In fact, these bunch of guys that I used to play with back in the day, there's another guitar player and a drummer. We would just hang out and jam a lot. We would crank up, play Messin' the Blues all the time, and it was just a good excuse to lock into a groove for like 15 minutes and let two guitar guys just kind of solo off of each other. It was a lot of fun. So, good album. I dig Long Misty Days. And another one of those albums, and we talk about this quite often, is like back in the day when you were buying LPs. One of those albums that I think I had to buy like 3 times because every copy that I would get would have skips in the same places on like a handful of songs. And after a while, I just got tired of returning the albums. It's just like, you know what? It is what it is, right? And as you learn, that's more a problem with your needle than it is the actual pressing of the LP. So, but I grew up remembering skips in all the same parts of a couple of these songs on this album. So when I got it on CD all those years later, I'm like, oh, kind of cool to hear that without the skip, but you know the song with the skip. Very strange. Anyway, number 4. Where are we? Number 4 is going to be 1973's debut, Twice Removed from Yesterday. That guy right there. Some folks might rank this a little bit higher. It's his debut. It's quite good. I think he would do better afterwards, but I think some of the, the early Trowerisms are in full effect here. He's broken away from Procol Harum. He's out doing his own thing. I don't think we really got to hear the real Robin Trower on much of that Procol Harum stuff other than fleetingly here or there. I was listening to Broken Barricade yesterday. I'm like, all right, there's a Trower I know on a few of those tracks, right? I Can't Wait Much Longer, tremendous song. Daydream, tremendous song. Okay, Hannah, don don bom 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 bom. Great use. I mean, this guy knew how to use guitar effects. Between the phaser, the univibe, the wah-wah, the fuzz. I mean, it's just this kind of swirling, oozing sound. It has intoxicated me since I was a kid. What else? Man of the World. Great hard rock, too. I Can't Stand It. Rock Me, Baby. Twice Removed from Yesterday. Shiner Song. And, of course, the lovely Ballerina. Great album. Great album. Number 3... may surprise some of you as being so high up, but you know what? Again, grew up on this album. Victims of the Fury from 1980. That bad boy right there. This is probably Trower's heaviest album. It's quite rocking. It starts off with, the CD order is different from the LP I had. So on the LP I had, it started off with Jack and Jill, which was just like a cranking blast in your face with some screaming guitar licks right off the bat before the heavy, rhythms came in and just stomping tune. But, The Ring is just a great tune, snarling guitar work on there. Roads to Freedom, moody, hard rock, None But the Brave. The title track, Victims of the Fury, is absolutely great. Only Time Can Take This Girl Away. Savage guitar playing on that, too. 1 in a Million, Madhouse. Madhouse is heavy. Into the Flame is a really good slow cranking blues number. I just think the production on this album is fantastic. Great Jimmy Dewar vocals. The good riffs on here. Sizzling leads. Dig this album a lot. I remember there was a guy, back when you were in high school, right? You had all these crazy classes you would take. So we had to take home ec back in the day. And I remember there was this guy who was in my home ec class with me who, I didn't really hang out with him a lot, but we always sat together in home ec and stuff. And at the time, I was heavily into this album. And he said to me one day, he goes, I'm not crazy about Trout. I'm like, really? Why? He goes, because it sounds like he's playing a bass through a wah-wah pedal. And I'm like, really? But you know what? I guess you can understand why some people would say that, especially if you hear in this album, because there's a real kind of beefy tone to his guitar, and in almost every song he's cranking through the wah-wah. So I guess some people hear that real kind of like very bassy, nasally tone he had, and maybe not dig it so much. But I don't know. Kind of a strange comment, but I always remember that. All right, so let's see. My top two. In more recent years, I've actually been ranking one of these higher than the other for a lot of reasons. But then, like, over the last couple of days, as I've been looking at these albums and trying to put my list together, I think came to a little bit more of my senses and have kind of gone back to my original ranking of these two albums, because these two have always been at the top of the studio album list for me, for Trower. But I'm going to go with number 2 from 1975, For Earth Below, right there. Like I said, I was actually, for a number of years, like over the last decade or so, this was my go-to record for Trower. I think just because I probably was hitting a little bit of burnout with Bridge of Sighs, but I have been rediscovering Bridge of Sighs of late, and it's most people's favorite for a reason, right? But I do not want to discredit For Earth Below, because it's neck and neck here. But I mean, I have some absolute favorites on For Earth Below. You know, Shame the Devil is crazy. It's Only Money. Great kind of like melancholy blues song. Confess in Midnight, fantastic. Fine Day, Alethea, Tale Untold. Going to Be More Suspicious. That's one of my favorite Trower songs. Love the riff, love the wah-wah. Amazing, amazing. And the title track, For Earth Below, is just absolutely killer. He's got some of his best wah-wah playing on here. I love the wah-wah based on my love for Trower. And I just dig the tones, dig the songs. Great, great album, by the way. That's one of my favorite live albums of all time, and first Trower album I ever bought. I fell in love with the guy after that. All right, so my number 1, obviously, no surprise here, 1974's Bridge of Sighs. It's listed as a favorite by many for reasons such as Day of the Eagle, right? Killer song. The title track, killer song. In this place, filled with empty space. What a voice that guy has. And had, I should say. May he rest in peace. Jimmy Dewar. What else? The Fool and Me. Great song. Love the guitar lick in that. It's got so much groove. Killer. To Rolling Stone, one of my all-time favorite Trower songs. Like it even better on the live album. About to Begin, underrated track. Lady Love, also probably better on the live album. And a little bit of Sympathy, fantastic song, even better on the live album. But that's a classic, but not a weak tune on that album right there. So it's got my vote for number 1. All right, so let me recap. Number 1, Bridge of Sighs. Number 2, For Earth Below. Number 3, Victims of the Fury. Number 4, Twice Removed from Yesterday. Number 5, Long Misty Days. Number 6, Back It Up. Number 7, BLT. Number 8, In City Dreams. Number 9, Caravan to Midnight. Number 10, Take What You Need. Number 11, Truce. Number 12, In the Line of Fire. 13, Seven Moons. 14, 20th Century Blues. And 15, Passion. Not to discredit all of the stuff he's released in more recent years and a couple others from the 90s. They're all fine for what they are. These are my 15 favorites, and these I know really, really well. I will say, Robin, if you're listening, no disrespect because I love you, man, but I am not a big fan of the albums he's done in more recent years where he's singing lead vocals. You know, when you grew up hearing a terrific guitar player who had terrific singers, couple in a row, and then you hear him taking over the lead vocals, and he's not a very strong singer. It kind of lessens your enjoyment of the albums. And while there's a lot of fine playing on some of his more recent albums, I've heard them all, got a few of them, I'm not a big fan of his vocals. I've tried. And I know it's quicker and easier and cheaper to just go into the studio with a drummer and a bass player, or even just with a drummer and play the bass yourselves and singing. I don't know. Those albums are missing something for me, and what they're missing is a strong singer like Davey or Jimmy. Just my opinion. But fine guitar playing on them nonetheless, right? But they're not ranking higher because of that reason. So these are my 15 favorites. So curious to see what your favorite Trower albums are, your favorite 5, 10, 15, 20. You want to do the whole catalog? Hey, go right to it. Be my guest. There's no right or wrong answer. Remember, we all hear these albums differently. We all love the ones we love. So visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. Lots more of these coming up this week. I've been talking a bit about Procol Harum. I'm actually going to do a Procol Harum ranking the album albums later this week. I'm going to try and get to Gary Moore as well this week. Stephen Reed is coming on board with me. He's going to rank the Wild Hearts for you tomorrow. We're also going to do a top 10 songs of Europe and another show which I keep forgetting. Martin Popoff coming on tomorrow morning. Speaking of Montrose, we're doing a co-show. We're going to rank the catalog together of Montrose and Gamma. So the Montrose albums and the Gamma albums coming together. And then Martin's coming back later this week, and we're going to be doing a top 10 songs of Gillan. Ian Gillan's great Gillan band. So that's coming up later this week, and all sorts of other stuff, guys. So stay tuned. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. Of course, we're on YouTube all the damn time. Don't know if I said that already, but I said it again. So there you have it. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, 2008. All right? Stay tuned. Bye-bye.